dinner tonight I am going to make a spinach frittata. I have got a Kent pumpkin here. I'm actually going to slice that, spray it with a little bit of olive oil, and I'm going to bake it in the oven. I need 700 grams of the pumpkin. I have got a bag of spinach. The recipe calls for 50 grams, but I might use more. It's Zero Smart Ones. We'll see how it looks. It needed 2 onions diced. I'm using my frozen. It needs 1 capsicum, a clove of garlic. I'm using the paste again. It called for 100 grams of Lite Feta cheese and also 200 grams of Lite Ricotta cheese and 9 eggs. It asked for fresh basil. I don't have any, so I'm just going to use a little bit of parsley. I've weighed out 700 grams of my Kent pumpkin, and now I'm going to pop it in the roasting dish. My oven dish, I have my pumpkin, my sliced capsicum, onion, and my garlic. I've sprayed it with olive oil. I'm going to bake it in the oven at 200 degrees until it's soft and tender. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop my 9 eggs into my bowl, and I'm going to add my feta and my ricotta. Okay, so I decided to use 12 eggs in my frittata. It's entirely up to you if you want to use 9 or 12 eggs. Personal choice, whatever you'd like to do. Now all I'm going to do is whisk this up a little bit before adding the rest of the ingredients. Now I'm going to add my ricotta. I just want to break it up a little bit just so it will help with the blending in process. So now all of the ricotta is in there. I'm just going to break up the feta cheese. This cheese I've got here is quite tough. You can get quite soft feta cheeses. It's personal choice, whichever one you want to use. So the cheeses are in there. I'm just going to give it a little whisk. Now all you want to do is add your, well, the recipe called for basil. I didn't have any, so I'm using parsley and salt and pepper to taste. I quite like a lot of pepper, so a lot of pepper. And I'm not really going to put much salt in there. I'm trying to reduce salt this week. Once the vegetables have finished baking, we'll put it all together. Okay, so the vegetables have finished cooking in the oven. Now they're nice and soft. They don't have any colour on them as such because, well, a couple of them do. But the recipe didn't say anything about browning. It just said making the vegetables tender. So that's what I've gone for. And I've decided it needs a zucchini. So I've chopped up 1 zucchini. That's not in the recipe, but if anybody who knows me by now knows that I don't really follow recipes. I always like to add something. Can't help myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly spray a oven-proof dish. They've cooked theirs in a round oven-proof dish, but I've only got spring-form tins, and I know if I use one of those I'm going to have a liquidy mess in the bottom of my oven, so I'm going to go with one of these. Contain it. Lightly spray your dish, and then it says to begin with a layer of pumpkin or vegetables. I think the zucchini might add a little bit of moisture to the dish, but because I'm using 12 eggs, I don't think it's going to make much difference. Then it says to ladle over some mixture. spinach. I'm using 100 grams, I decided 50 wasn't enough for me. And then continue the layers as such with your vegetable mix and eggs. This dish looks like it's going to be very cheesy, which is going to be great. And then once all the vegetables are in there, you just want to finish it off with your remaining egg mixture. Making sure everything is evenly coated. Okay, so we're all done. I'm just going to pop this back in the oven at 180 degrees for, it says 1 hour, but I'm going to check it after half an hour and just make sure everything's okay, and I'll just give it a little bit of a tester, see how it's cooking, and I'll let you know what it's like when we're finished. So this is how it's turned out. I'm actually really happy with it. It smells fantastic. It's firmed up really nicely. Once it cools down a little bit, I'll cut into it and see how it tastes, but it smells great. I did end up cooking this for an hour. It definitely needed it.